Prior to the start of the CONCACAF Gold Cup, United States men's national team manager Greg Berhalter admitted that the team's target was to go all the way in the competition. However, such a statement could have sounded hollow, given the fact that the national side went into the tournament with a very youthful group of players who might struggle to replace the more established stars. But it appears that Berhalter knew what he was talking about. Spending most of his playing career in Europe, the former national team player was aware of the special group that he had at his disposal. More than that, his words proved prophetic as the USMNT ended up beating arch-rivals Mexico in the final. The game had gone to extra time where Miles Robinson scored the goal that probably hints at a power shift in the region. But before we continue to talk about the USMNT and how far it'll go, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so that you're always notified about all of our newly posted content. A seismic event. The USMNT's Gold Cup win capped off a forgettable summer of football for USMNT, who also won the CONCACAF Nations League at the expense of Mexico. A few years ago, the US-Mexico rivalry was very much one-sided, with the Mexicans enjoying the upper hand. However, the rivalry is now evenly contested, and dare we say that the USMNT is slowly surpassing Mexico in more ways than one. If you look at how the US performed both in the Nations League and at the Gold Cup, and then look at how far Canada has come along with the players in their national team, you have to feel that Mexico have their work cut out for them. Perhaps a decade or so from now, we might see generations of players coming from both countries, and we'll be wondering how it was possible for Mexico to dominate the region for as long as it did. Strength in depth. 56 days before the final, the USMNT and Mexico faced off in a classic that helped us witness a new chapter in one of the greatest rivalries in international football. However, in those 2 months or so, these two rivals have decided to take different paths. The USMNT decided to send its main star home, giving them an extended vacation so that they're replenished and in good condition before returning to their clubs. Berhalter decided that he needed to look at other players for the Gold Cup. Mexico, on the other hand, didn't want to take any chances and decided to build on the team that lost to their bitter rivals in such heartbreaking fashion in Denver. The Gold Cup final gave us a great glimpse of two different approaches from two of the biggest teams in the region. The only common denominator was that both went into the tournament aiming to win it. Of course, you could have forgiven Berhalter's men for faltering away given the youthful outlook of its squad. Star players such as Christian Pulisic, Gio Reyna, Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams, and a host of other players who are regular starters for their European sides weren't even in the squad. Instead, he turned to a young group of players who are now knocking on the doors and will be eager to be given a chance during the World Cup qualifying campaign. Unearthing new gems. By the end of the Gold Cup triumph, Berhalter knew that he had quite a few gems to call upon. Miles Robinson and James Sands, for instance, look like a modern-day centre-back pairing that can guarantee a watertight defence for the US men's national team at international level. Kellyn Acosta is a great midfield backup. Gianluca Busio, on the other hand, is a true star in the making. While Matt Turner was the number one at the Gold Cup, Matthew Hopp is also knocking on the door and will provide the New England Revolution's shot stopper stiff competition. However, more than talent, his young stars have learnt important lessons along the way. They came out unscathed in grueling wins over the likes of Qatar, Jamaica and Canada. The games against Qatar and Jamaica stand out in particular, given the physical nature of the players. The young USMNT players were unfazed by that and went about their business in a diligent manner. Mexico entered the final as heavy favourites, but Berhalter had a few surprises in his bag of tricks. Eric Williamson and George Bello hadn't played a lot in the tournament, but were given starts against Mexico. Williamson was eager to drive at the Mexican defence at every opportunity, while Bello was as solid as you expect a defender to be. Christian Roldan might never be a starter, but the 26-year-old continued to excel in the super sub role that he's making his own. His cameos always seem to work out for the young group. A relentless group. Berhalter is also a man who wants to keep up with the changing dynamics of the game. The USMNT is really good at pressing opponents, and having young players helps a lot in this regard. For us, it's about relentless pressing, it's moving high, and it's next man up, because we need fresh guys. We need fit guys to be able to play the way we want to play, Berhalter said. Throughout the game, the US bossed Mexico and created great scoring opportunities. Only some wayward finish and perhaps lack of experience denied them a stellar scoreline. Matt Turner was also a rock at the back, denying Gerardo Martino's men time and time again. The team likes to stay still and not get overawed, and as the game wore on, the USMNT's confidence grew. There was more pressure on the Mexicans to win the game, and the Americans played with the freedom that is a sign of a team on the rise. US owes Berhalter an apology? Quite a few voices back at home thought that the USMNT C team, or B team at best, will do well at the Gold Cup. In fact, the tournament was seen by many as Berhalter's personal laboratory to find out what other options he might have at his disposal for the World Cup qualifiers. Mexico's onslaught in the first half must have given fans a sense of dread, but as the game wore on, Martino's men started fearing a horror show due to their own profligacy in front of goal. Once they lost fluidity, Berhalter's men started growing in the game. While it wasn't a cat and mouse chase, the USMNT had a plan. Bide your time, give the opponent a sense of dominance, and then come out guns blazing. There was no raid on the Mexican goal, but the national team did what was necessary. Sparing a thought for Gio dos Santos. While Mexico will be seething after yet another defeat in another final against a bitter rival, we need to spare a thought for Giovanni dos Santos, who lost his father Geraldo, better known as Zizinho, at the age of 59, just hours before his son was to take the field against Canada in the semi-final. Even under such circumstances, the former Barcelona man decided to take the field and then did the same for the final. You can only imagine what must have been going through the forward's mind throughout the two games. Inexperience no longer an excuse? Berhalter took a young team to the Gold Cup in a roster that had 5 uncapped players and a total of 14 players who had less than 10 international appearances. This would have given the rest of the teams confidence that they could make things hard for the Americans. However, what most people choose to ignore is the fact that this also indicated the depth and resources that the USMNT has at its disposal. Berhalter himself admits that him and his coaching team have been observing players non-stop. They have indeed been evaluating and re-evaluating quite a lot in the past few months. This is truly a unique scenario for North American football in general. If you look at it, North American sides normally have quite thin squads that last about a decade or so. Squad depth is something that's common in Europe and South America, where the likes of Brazil, France, Portugal, Belgium, Germany, and England can rely on a large pool of players. The USMNT now has a roster where every single area has options galore. This wasn't the case before. Better days indeed do lie ahead for the national team, and while it's too soon to consider them heavy favourites for Qatar 2022, you never know what a team can achieve when it has such a massive amount of talent at its disposal. By the end of the next year, the USMNT is likely to have a very strong squad to participate in the World Cup. They might not be considered favourites, but ignoring this team is no longer an option. The last time a team from the Americas won the World Cup was back in 2002, when Ronaldo guided Brazil to glory. Perhaps it's time for a team from the North to go ahead and make history. Of course, it'll be difficult, but if you look at the squad strength and experience these players will have already gained by November 2022, there's no telling what this team can achieve. They might not win the World Cup, but they could certainly be on the cusp of something great.